All guts, no glory. So, I saw Magazine Dreams earlier starting Johnathan Majors, and I got my thoughts on it. Johnathan Majors, he probably gives one of the best performances of the year so far that I've seen out of really any movie that I have seen. But as great as he is, it's such a disturbing role in such a disturbing film. Now, in the film, we meet Major's character. His name is Killian Maddox, and he's a inspiring bodybuilder who wants to become Mr. Olympian one day. And he is willing to go to great lengths, in any length, in unorthodox methods and behaviors to achieve this dream. You see this through his regiments of how he eats, from how he lifts weights and how he exercises, his dedication of learning how to pose, his fundamentals of bodybuilding, and a few other things that we get to see throughout the film. Now, where the issue lies is, this is with any individual. If they have a great passion and they have a vision for what they want to do and what they achieve, there is a thin line of brilliancy and insanity, and through this movie we get mainly the insanity part of it with his character. He is a disturbed, flawed, unsympathetic character throughout the entirety of this movie. He has zero social skills. He doesn't know how to he doesn't really know how to communicate with people. He doesn't like to be touched by anybody. The only real relationship he has with his is with his grandfather. And it is good to see how he takes care of his grandfather, how much he cares for him as his caretaker, for he was the one that raised him. You find out early on and later on in the film, it was a tragic incident that happened with his parents, which probably also led to a lot of anxiety, trauma, and a lot of unanswered things that happened to him, which had him have this upbringing, and which led him to being the character that he is, that we see throughout the film. As brilliant as he is as an actor and with the performance of the film, he is just unhinged, unstable. He is a danger to himself and others, and you see a lot of the ramifications and the actions and the reactions with the consequences because of it throughout the film, because of various things that he does either to himself or to others. Now, like I stated earlier, and I will continue to say throughout this review, Majors is phenomenal with his role throughout the movie because of the range of direction that he goes with the character, because you are irritated with the character, you are afraid of the character, you feel sympathetic for his character, you will even kind of cheer him on during certain parts. But he is just such a unstable individual. It's just, it's just kind of even hard just to watch the movie at times, and it's cringeworthy at certain aspects as well. Like, for one example, there is a scene in the movie where he builds up the courage to ask one of his co-workers out on a date, and you can tell he's probably never approached a female, doesn't know how to ask a girl out, but he does it, and eventually the girl agrees to it. And early on, it is good to see him have the courage and to see him, you know, try to build some type of relationship with somebody, but he is so obsessed with this, with trying to become a bodybuilder and just with his body and just trying to, you know, he is just so laser focused on this one thing that he doesn't have the awareness to realize that he is scaring this young woman to the point where basically she, you know, lied and kind of made up an excuse to get out of the date, and she just left him there. But, you know, watching the movie, you don't blame her because it's such an uncomfortable situation that she's in. I mean, us as, you know, the audience, we just like, man, like, I feel bad for him, but I would want to get out of this situation too if I was her. And just even like going back to him being a bodybuilder, it was cool seeing, like I said, the dedication he had towards it, but the problem is that's the only thing that he cared about and even really knew about, and he just went to such great lengths to become, you know, just this perfect specimen. And, you know, us seeing him, it's like, man, like, he looks in great shape and everything, but he wants to do better, and he feels like he's not good enough because of what the judges have said to him before and this idea of how he's supposed to look. Now, there's another scene that I kind of want to highlight, that where you see how delusional he is, and that leads to his obsession, which could, you know, basically even lead to him, basically dying. He was in an accident earlier in the film from some events that happened, and the doctor is telling him that he needs to stop taking steroids, and he has a tumor on his liver and he needs to have surgery. And he refused the surgery and left, and he had left and snuck out the hospital. And he didn't want to get the surgery because he didn't want to leave a scar on his body, because his response was, bodybuilders doesn't have scars, they have to have the perfect body. And I'm just like, man, like this dude got a problem. And unfortunately, it just gets worse with a lot of the issues that he has, because it just puts him in a downhill spiral with a lot of events that happen throughout. And I would say this would probably be one of the negative things and one of the issues I had with the movie. This movie doesn't know what it wants to be, because when we first, start off with his character, you see he has the obsession of becoming Mr. Olympia and a bodybuilder, and you see him just go down this dark rabbit hole with his obsession, and it's due because of childhood trauma that was never addressed. He has these dark thoughts in his head. He talks to himself. He hears voices and all the things that his psychologist has kind of laid out for him, and kind of telling the audience. And then you also see like this rage and this violence that he has in him. And then it doesn't help matters that he's taking steroids, which probably amplifies his violence even more to a dangerous level. But the film just goes completely into left field with, so there's a subplot with him writing letters to like his hero in the bodybuilding world, who's won Mr. Olympia, who's been on all these magazine covers and things of that nature. Like I say, he's been writing letters to him. It kind of reminds you of like if you're any people out there who has heard the song Stand by Eminem, how you have this obsessive fan who's writing to the person that they love and they cherish and they look up to, but you don't know if the guy's going to write him back, and you see the irritation within Major's character, and you like, man, like he's becoming more unhinged. But then he does write back to him, and that's where you get the left field part that comes into the film. And that part, you know, just with that subplot throughout the film is just, it's disturbing, it's awkward, and it's not the fact that it's hard to talk about, but I may do a spoiler on this, so you know, you guys leave a comment in the review, and you know, if you have seen the movie, you know, just tell me like what your thoughts are on that, because I just thought that whole subplot was just kind of crazy, and that whole subplot just kind of leads into all these other things that are happening throughout the film, and it just kind of really diverts away from him becoming the bodybuilder. And I understand that they're showing like how a obsession can lead to a dangerous path of all these things, but I feel like they're trying to do a commentary on the dangers of social media, the dangers of, you know, even like your heroes, and consequences of not addressing your issues from the past and what they could manifest into. And these are all, you know, interesting ideas, but it was just a lot for this film, and I kind of wish they would have just kind of focused on like one or two things. And you know, some of the elements would have been cool, but like I said, it goes into such a crazy direction. It's just a lot to take in, you know, when you're watching the film. And another con is with Majors, you know, this is his movie from beginning, middle, and end, and that's also kind of where the film's detriment is, because nobody else really shines throughout the film. You don't really care too much about any of the supporting characters, and even like I said earlier, like it was good seeing like the relationship he had with his grandfather, but they don't really even have enough screen time, and it's just, you know, unfortunate, because I think they could have done a lot more if they would have gave more time with a lot of these characters, especially with the subplot earlier when he went on a date and the girl left him. You know, you don't see her throughout the rest of the film, or there was really no conclusion or any type of resolution to what happened with that incident. But overall, like I said, Majors gives a wonderful, excellent, you know, outstanding performance, but the movie just falls short from I feel like it doesn't really have a clear direction of what the movie wants to focus on. It has too much commentary on a lot of other things, which they are good. I feel like talking points of what are some of the ramifications that could lead from you having a obsession or being, you know, solely focused on one thing. Unfortunately, the movie just doesn't stick the landing for what they was doing when the movie first took off. Unfortunately, like I said, great performances, especially by Majors, like the cinematography, like the camera work, and you know, just, you know, all the technical stuff was great. The acting for Majors was great, but the story itself, it was just a little too much for me. And as great as his performance was, I don't even think I would really even go back to watch this movie. And that's just mainly just for the fact just of how dark it gets, and just, you know, basically going down this crazy rabbit hole is just a lot just to take in. But you know, like I said, like I would recommend people, you know, to go see it, like I said, for the performances, and maybe it'd be a good, you know, like conversation, you know, to have about, you know, people with sessions, and who goes in really hard on their goals, and you know, individuals who have issues that they need to address, and you know, like I said, there are things in there that they want to try to address and talk about, but I just feel like this just wasn't the movie for it. And thanks again for listening to my review, guys. If you guys like the content, like the reviews, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and I'm gonna keep on bringing you reviews within the future. And have a good one.